Very pleased I'll be joined here at Blog of the Boys by the one and only, the dashing, the debonair, the next 007. You know him, you love him, from the home of the Cowboys, 105.3, the Fan, bright and early every single morning. I am now, I would guess, the second best RJ in his life. It is Shan Shariff. Shan, thank you so much for taking the time to join us at Blog of the Boys.
No, you're definitely the first, RJ, no doubt. If you listen to the show, you know that you are definitely number one over RJ Choppy to me.
I love RJ, like, I mean, obviously and biasedly, but I really hate that, like, by coincidence. I don't know if he's ever thought about this. I've never asked him, but our Twitter handles are very similar in length. We both happened to go lowercase when we created them. You know what I mean? So very, very, very often I will get tagged in things by the Tolos that are for you and Bobby and Peyton and whatever. And like, I'll get, it's like, oh yeah, I'm going out to this fire station or whatever. I'm like, I'm happy for you, man. I really, not that I don't care, but like, this doesn't apply to me the way that you think it does.
But I wonder who benefits more and who loses more based upon opinion. So like, I would imagine you lose more because RJ is going to say some dumbass things and tweet more dumbass things. But if people think maybe you're being a Cowboy homer or something, maybe RJ gets called that. But I still think you would come up on the losing end with people thinking you're RJ Choppy.
Yeah. Every now and then, look, I Google myself just, for posterity, right? To figure things out. And when you guys had your tussle with Jerry back in the fall, and he went on Dan Patrick, like that was just like flooding my Google search results. And I was like, well, that speaks to the power of Dan Patrick, obviously. But, sometimes we just get our wires crossed that way.
We don't talk about that day, man. That's a dark day for me that RJ got invited on Dan Patrick versus me growing up worshiping Dan Patrick. So we don't talk about that.
Yeah, tough scene, but you got invited here. So, also a close second. Some people are saying people love you guys. People love your show. Bobby's all right, but you and RJ have been around for a long time. And so it's really awesome to see just in the span that I've been doing this professionally for about a decade now, just the genesis of how I came to understand you all and the ritual that is Jerry with you all. So you guys, you kill it, and good for you all.
Thank you. I mean, you're the one on with Kay Adams. My RJ Ochoa, really, Bobby had been telling me about you for a bit. Well, my big RJ Ochoa impression was at the Super Bowl, and my bosses will not like me saying this, but this became an issue behind the scenes where all these at the Super Bowl, the national guests, for those that don't know, really go to McAfee.
Sure.
They go to the national shows, right? So they can hit all the markets. And then all these big time guests are like sitting down at this table, and then this guest and national guests. And I'm like, none of the local people I'm like, what, who is this guy is getting better guests than us at the freaking Super Bowl? And it's RJ Ochoa. And you became a point in our meeting of having to crack down, trying to match some of your guest lists at the Super Bowl. So that was my number one impress RJ Ochoa moment.
Well, thank you very much. It's, the way this world works is a lot of fun. But you guys, you do all right. That small mom and pop shop, that is the Fan. You know what I'm saying? You guys, you guys are definitely killing it.
Well, not everyone is a fan. You know how that goes, but we've been around for 15 years. So we'll see how much longer we last.
So I sent you 3 things that I wanted to get into today. And the first is I was thinking about when I was walking my dogs. The night that they hired Schottenheimer was really dark. Like, I'll start there. What's the darkest moment outside of that you can think of? Because the only one I can think of that was like close to that was when it was like 28-7 or whatever against the Packers in the walk.
Yeah.
That was like holy crap, the heat is on, and I don't know what comes next. And that was at least like, well, the season ends and we can do the autopsy, but that was like hiring a new head coach, and so it was like I have no idea how this is going to turn out.
Yeah, I think people will probably throw the Dez moment up there, but that was the other one that came to mind as I'm waiting for a long playoff run and Green Bay just ends it. Like, you're sitting there for 3 and a half quarters saying, this is over. Like, I have to sit through this shit now. Can I curse on here?
Yeah, you're fine.
I have to sit through this crap now. But the Schottenheimer stuff, outrage. right now, you almost feel stupid talking about it with how much glowing praise myself and others and everyone right now is giving Brian. But I remember kind of getting tipped off on this rumor.
Right, yeah.
And I'm not a newsbreaker or anything. So when this person told me this, I was like, what? I remember the tweet, I qualified it. I'm like, I don't believe it, but I'm just telling you, I keep hearing Brian Schottenheimer. Someone called me from the media. I'm hearing the same. See, a couple of other media members kind of heard whispers, but it was so crazy. They weren't ballsy enough to go out with it because they were newsbreakers.
Right.
Well, I don't really, that's not my thing. I'm not judged off of that. So I got 2 immediate phone calls like, "Oh, you're hearing it too?" And so it didn't shock me when it was officially named, but I remember where I was. I was in an Uber driving back home. They threw me on the radio late night, and the outrage and the questioning of the Joneses' sanity. I don't want us to forget about that, because if we end up being wrong, we need to hold ourselves accountable and go back and remember it.
I completely agree with the accountability thing. I say often, since they traded for Pickens, that I was against it, and like I've come around, I'm into it now. But like call me on it. Like I did not think it was right away, and I'm willing to smoke that crow and eat it myself.
But the thing is, RJ, everyone had that feeling, basically the majority, until your team does it.
Right. No.
He's the biggest knucklehead in the National Football League. All this
Right.
is before he's traded, and this
Right.
is universal opinion. We all know it. Problem child, cancer. Mike Tomlin can't control him. But then when your team trades for him, oh my God, he misunderstood.
The quarterback sucks.
Right. The organization, right? Bobby keeps preaching this to me. The organization, as if the Dallas Cowboys can match up with the Pittsburgh Steelers in terms of being an organization. But we all love it because it's our team.
Also, there's just a ton of hypocrisy. Like the people who are mouthing like, well, the quarterback situation was unstable are the same like people who bag on Dak. So it's like, oh, like, these things can't all be true,
Right.
in the same way. Relative to the Schottenheimer thing, I remember your tweet. I recall your tweet. And again, just from a history standpoint, it did not emerge until, at least nationally and like seriously, until the second week of the process, which was even delayed because of how long they waited to move on from Mike. And the biggest report outside of your own was that he was the favorite in betting markets, like before he had even conducted an interview or anything like that. So it was very strange, very unorthodox. And I'm with you. I have sang his praises too. I think that they're earned and they're merited. But I will say, because I consider it my job in a lot of senses to understand the pulse of the fan base, and I consider it your job in maybe the most true sense of anybody, is the person who drives y'all show. And that being said, I can't tell I can't decide if it's fair to say that because the fan base has really turned too. You don't find people really who think it's bad anymore. Do you consider this to be, a lot of times Cowboys fans get like painted as the, like, it's our year. Nobody says that. Like there aren't Cowboys fans who behave the way that they get painted out to behave. This is kind of that though. Like this is kind of like just buying in because you have no other choice.
Well, because he's good in front of a microphone.
Right.
The first question you sent me to talk about, like, why do you think basically we're falling in love with Brian Schottenheimer? It's because of his personality. You could say a lot of things about, our audiences and this country and Americans, People, and my first program director told me this, people can sniff out a lot of times whether you're genuine or not, and Mike McCarthy was filled with a lot of this. It felt like insecurity to a degree. And I felt like we weren't getting Pittsburgh Mike in the bar in front of the podium. Sometimes he would give it to us, I feel like, on our show when he had to show more personality. Right. You are getting 1,000,000% genuine and authentic. That's what it feels like. Now, Brian Schottenheimer may go out tomorrow and get arrested for triple murder. I don't know the guy like that.
That's manifesting.
Yeah, right. No. But he's genuine, he's authentic, he's real, and people have picked up on it. And that right now is why there's been a tide change, in my opinion.
I think that's accurate. I always thought authenticity is a different thing, but I always thought, and I think you would agree, Mike was a lot more charming than he got credit for. Like he could hold court, like he could hold the room. He was funny, he was charismatic. I think on some level, he was just always the dude who threw the red challenge flag on the display that you talked about. And like, there was this like subliminal, deep psychological hatred for him from people, because the same kind of crap happens. And like people are saying this now, like, oh, I remember when Garrett came in, people were in love with him. Like when Mike was smashing watermelons and they won games, it's, oh, this is cool. Like, this is awesome. It's only when you lose that, everything.
Kellen Moore.
Right.
Kellen Moore is the Jason Garrett. They were both the whiz kid geniuses.
Right.
You never wanted that Kellen Moore getaway. They ran Kellen Moore. They wanted to run Kellen Moore out of town. Dan Quinn.
Right.
Twice in my car driving home, I'm listening as the news breaks that Jerry has somehow convinced Dan Quinn to stick around and stay.
Unbelievable, yeah.
And we threw parades as we should have. But after the Green Bay game, they were ready to run Dan Quinn out of town too.
It was the Dan Quinn thing does make me think of McAfee when Tony Pollard didn't know that he was gone. If you recall that was a weird day. Behind the scene, Mike RJ Choppy actually says it, I think, best. Sean Payton is Mike McCarthy with better PR. 100%.
Mike is, portrayed as the bumbling, big doofus, Peter Griffin, the call sheet. Small town Green Bay, little small Pittsburgh, son of a bar owner, not ready for the big time, not ready for the flash, not going to put on the suit. And that stuff worked against him when things didn't go right. He's
the Sean Payton comparison is apt. I think even Mike Tomlin, can you imagine if we were to celebrate the Cowboys never having a losing season? We would laugh at ourselves. You know what I mean? Like that, Mike Tomlin's cool, and he's revered, and all these people, and he's younger. I completely agree with the Peter Griffin thing relative to Mike, and beyond all of that, we have also learned. People used to say like, oh well, it was just Aaron that was amazing. We've learned that dude's a big asshole. Like we've learned that he managed that, and people still won't. And look, did they win the Super Bowl? No. Am I throwing a parade? Absolutely not. But what he did, he is without question the best post-Super Bowl, post-Switzer coach in team history, in my mind. Like better than Parcells, certainly better than Garrett. Like he did things that nobody else did. That we thought the guy would have just going to the playoffs in back-to-back years. Again, not parade worthy, but nobody had ever done it until Mike McCarthy.
Well, I don't think I want to go down this road too far because we're having a pleasant conversation. You give me for 5 or 10 years, Parcells or McCarthy, I'm going to take Parcells. But you were covering that team a lot closer than I was before I got here. So I'll leave that one to the side. I wanted Mike gone. I did not believe that they were ever going to reach their fullest potential or win a championship. And then obviously the playoff success, some of the stuff you heard behind the scenes in terms of how hard they really practice, the insecurities, the pettiness, which I'm sure exists in every organization. We just covered this one. I wanted Mike gone.
I don't think it's criminal to want him gone. My only thing with the mouth breathers of the fan base is if we cannot qualify last year and note that while he certainly made some mistakes, et cetera, if we can't say the man was handicapped, then we're not.
This infuriates me with Bobby. This pisses me off where he forgets that Dak played. I think he conveniently forgets because he hated McCarthy, but Dak played half a season. End of conversation. Your starting quarterback plays half the season. You get a pass for that season, in my opinion. Come on.
I agree with that, but I would say the beginning is the for real, the marquee free agent was Zeke. Like that, you know what I mean? Like there was all and the toxicity, like the just a million different things. Like I'm not here to relitigate. You're not here to relitigate. I do want to talk about Dak because you're familiar, I imagine, with the Dark Knight quote, you either die a hero, you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. I thought about this recently, like yesterday on Sunday. We're chatting on Mondays. This is going to drop on Tuesday. And I wanted to flesh this out with you specifically, which worked out because we had already agreed to do this. And so I think that happened to Romo. Romo died the hero. And so that's why there's so many people who, hold him for forever. But Romo was the first, quarterback that came along in the post drought to potentially be the savior. Like he was potentially Frodo. There's a different thing when you're the second guy, because now you get compared especially to the guy who died a hero in Romo. And I think that the contingent who defends Dak, I know you waffle in between that back and forth, but the contingent who defends Dak, and I put myself there, we are not prepared to deal with the idea that he might not get it done. For a long time, I think it felt inevitable that he would. It did feel like he is the prince who was promised, like the prophecy will be fulfilled and the one that was foretold. but maybe I just have idle hands right now, but like, what if the best football we've ever seen from Dak is behind him? And what if he doesn't get it done? Like, I don't know what that looks like. We haven't quite seen that because with Romo, we never had to reckon with that reality.
Yeah. Where I currently am with Dak is, if I could go back and not give him the contract, I would not have given him the contract. The second one.
The one from last year.
The one from last year. And at the time, I was like, you have to pay him. He just everyone totally forgets he finished runner-up in MVP, and you can't go without the quarterback. And I wanted to see, what other level can he take it to? And I still think, if healthy, Dak is going to have a really, really nice season. And I'm excited. Totally. I'm excited about the Cowboys offense. The playoff thing is a problem.
It's at least a fair thing to like bring up. Like if you don't want to say it's a problem, like it's past the point where you can coincidence it out. And it's also ironic. I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. That one of his greatest moments came with Brian Schottenheimer as part of the demise for the team who they beat. Like, it's this weird incestual thing that this team is a part of.
Yeah, I think if Dak gets hurt again this year, that's the biggest worry for me right now over his play. If he gets hurt again and misses 6 games or more, then you have to go get his replacement. I know the contract, 2 years, not getting out of the money, but you got to mentally say it's time for the next guy because of the durability and the breakdowns. A lot of this Dak Romo thing, let's just be freaking honest about it. In my opinion, a lot of that also is about race. So you have people who never wanted to love Dak Prescott, but Tony Romo was the choke artist. Tony Romo is the guy who lost 3 straight NFC East championships. Right. Tony Romo doesn't have great playoff moments. So right now, Dak Prescott's legacy to me is a great story, hell of a quarterback coming out of the 4th round, could put up some monster stats, rookie of the year start, couldn't get it done in the postseason, body broke down. I don't have great confidence that we're going to have that much different of a narrative and legacy ender on him because of his body.
I think that, and something I've talked about is like, it's hard to use the term or the label injury prone, but like, and these have all been different issues he's dealt with, but like at a certain point you have to say, well, he's missed time in XYZ, like whatever. And they took that a little bit more seriously in trading for Joe Milton. So, that is somewhat representative of things. On the contract note, my only thing was I would have killed them if they hadn't obviously re-signed him. But I said all last year, there had to be a point, like pick a day, June 1st. I know that's June 1st day, whatever. But like there had to be a day where you said, if we don't get it done by this day, we're not going to do it. And you just live with it. Like you make the decision to that was the decision we made when we were in an objective state of mind, because by signing him on the day the season began, they did it in quite literally the most inefficient manner possible. Yeah. And so even if you think Dak sucks, you amplified that problem by doing it that way, as opposed to if you'd gotten ahead of it, which they're repeating with Micah. And yeah. I didn't want them to trade for Pickens, but get an extension done. Like, why are you waiting to get a Pickens extension done at this point?
Well, they want to see probably if he's a psychopath.
Then why'd you trade for him? Like, then why?
Because if you trade for him, right, and he leaves, then you can get hopefully a 3rd round comp pick.
Hopefully. And that would require you to not be active in free agency, which we don't want.
Right. Well, which usually happens, though. So maybe they're looking at it. Worst case scenario, we get the pick back that we gave up. Let's see if he balls out. Let's see what type of guy he really is. And then let's go ahead and pay him and pair him up with CD for the long haul. They also know, RJ, they needed some freaking juice around here. I was not excited about going to Oxnard. I was not excited before the draft. Same old shit, same old lines, blow the smoke up our ass. Pickens, the draft, Schottenheimer. I'm excited to go to Oxnard again, and they knew that they needed some juice.
Yeah, if I have to draw a line in the sand, like, because this offseason has felt really good, right? It's felt like the first like dip in the pool of the summer, right? Like where you just like, holy crap, this is an amazing feeling. But because it started off bad, like the waiting on McCarthy, the way the Schottenheimer thing developed. If there's a break point, it's the drought that people say we're in. quote from Steven. Like that was their last like foot and mouth. What are you doing? And ever since then, they've been kind of cool. Like, again, it was a small thing, but that Jerry didn't speak at the combine, if you recall. I didn't do the bus thing. That Schottenheimer was the only person outside of Steven who spoke at the combine on behalf of the team. Like, ever since then, it's been mostly, there was the David Mulugeta thing from Jerry, not knowing his name, because, whatever. But for the most part, like, we're batting 300 right now, and we're not used to that right now.
Yes. And again, that doesn't mean much.
Right.
Fan sentiment, if we were that smart, we'd probably be in front office sitting somewhere. But we did know that last offseason was awful in the moment, and it proved to be awful. So hopefully the opposite can make fans and the rest of us look smart again, feeling this good.
I think that, look,
I'm not feeling good to a championship. Don't get me wrong. I'm feeling good that I would bet the over 8.5 or over 7.5 in Vegas. That's where I'm at. I'm feeling good. We can finish second in the division. And if Jalen Hurts doesn't play well or injuries, you can win the division again. I'm not talking about Super Bowl contender, but I'm feeling good to maybe 10, 11 wins again.
I agree with you entirely on the 7.5, 8.5, whatever. If you can get 7.5, go for it. Whatever. I'm completely with you there. And look, we all know you're probably not winning the Super Bowl. It's very, very, very hard. Right? Like you would take the field over literally any other team. But at the very least, like, let this be fun. Like at the very least, when I'm at the pumpkin patch with my wife and son, and like I don't want to be like miserable as a sports fan. Like that time of year has to be fun for me, and it wasn't last year. Like everything about last year was like the bottom of everything, and then it just got worse. Again, we talked about y'all's moment, the stadium falling on Monday Night Football, the sun being a thing again. Like there, what was the cool point? Like what was the moment where you were like, damn, like I love being a Cowboys fan last year.
Yeah, I don't know. And then, the McCarthy detractors would say, yeah, you lost your quarterback, but you're getting your face smashed in to begin the year, which is true. So it felt like it was a 25-game season to me, and it just wouldn't end.
Last thing I wanted to get to, it's about the Micah deal, but not really, because anytime this pops up, like last week, there was Micah's quote that made the rounds about, how he didn't understand, whatever it was, the report from Clarence and DLS Sports. Great. I think we all think whatever we think about the front office, but there is just no way. And I don't know how anyone can rationally say, I think that they're this incompetent. You just, nobody simply can be at this point. So what do you attribute, if you are a lawyer defending they're not paying Micah? Do you think it is incompetence? Do you think it's liking the attention and being in the headlines? Do you think it's laziness? Do you think it's just Sinatra style? They just want to do it their way and on their terms. Maybe it's all of these things.
Yeah, there's no simple answer for me because it's so confusing. So I'll kind of try to break it into pieces. Is there a stubbornness? Yeah, absolutely. Like Jerry Jones likes to remind us that he is Jerry fucking Jones. Okay. Like the Jimmy Johnson thing was so petty, right, and so unnecessary and so low but that was because of Jerry. It's my sandbox and I decide it's not on my schedule. And that David Mulugeta thing was about marking his territory by going on the fire hydrant. So you need to get it done. You need to get Jason Garrett fired. You needed this. No, we'll wait 5 more days. You don't tell me what to do.
Right.
I'm Jerry Jones. So there's a stubborn aspect that I think of. Number 2, when they say, I want to see more leaves fall, that applies maybe to Deron Bland, maybe to Jake Ferguson. Okay.
Even Tyler Smith. We'll go like that. Like that's the end. I'm totally with you. Okay.
When you say it about Micah Parsons, you sound stupid. That is stupid. Okay, we knew the Lamb leaves where they were, and we knew the Micah leaves where they were. So now to your point, the one area I expect Jerry Jones to be a master at is business and numbers and finance. Jerry Jones ain't breaking out no film room, and Jerry Jones doesn't know the third string players on the roster's names probably. I expect him to master the contracts and the deals. Is Jerry Jones dumb when it comes to that? I agree with you. Like there's no way. So I do think, RJ, there does need to be an out left for the agent wanting to wait. Okay. If I'm Micah Parsons' agent, don't I want to wait for TJ Watt? I think this was a thing with with the Lamb deal with Justin Jefferson.
Sure.
I think Lamb's agent was like, yo, let's see what Justin gets.
Yeah, see if Jamar Chase gets done, whatever. Yeah, totally.
So I do think we have to be fair and factor that into a degree. So it's a mixture of things, stubbornness, just assuming the cap is going to keep going up. That's what everyone tells me. Oh my God, the cap's going to go. Okay, I can make more money next year. That doesn't mean I want to spend the most I can on a couch that I'm sitting on, because if I still get the deal on the couch and I make more money, guess what happens in between? I have saved more money. I have more money. So I don't understand it. I feel like in the Micah thing, there was a miscommunication. They thought something was done. And then Micah either pulled out, the agent pulled out, the Cowboys pulled out. But man, this is a national black eye that they cannot shed, no matter what the other realities are, that you guys are so slow and you continue to burn yourself over and over for some reason.
I agree with you, and that's where the agent's logic likely stems from, which is why at some point you have to overcorrect. At some point you have to get out in front. You have to call it overpay, whatever, to rid yourselves of this reputation.
Now, RJ, to be fair, right, because we got to be balanced. They got in front of Diggs. Well, Diggs had I think the fantastic season with all the pick sixes. Everyone wants out of the Trayvon Diggs deal. So if you wanted to wait another year to see the leaves fall on Diggs, what type of guy is he? What type of leader? What type of this? So they got burned by the Diggs thing. They got burned by the Gallup thing. They have been burned, and those things we never bring up and we never remember when Stephen Jones tries to say it.
The Gallup thing, they signed him when he was coming off a torn ACL. So they thought they were getting like their bargain or whatever. So that to me is in its own box. The Diggs thing, I agree with you. They got, in there early the way we want them to. And now
Jalen, don't forget Jalen Smith.
Yeah, Jalen, Lyle, technically Zeke, even though it required a holdout, whatever. But the Trayvon thing, to me, because I agree with you, like, am I happy they did that still? Yes, I am, because people want to move on, right? Well, the reason you can move on now is because you did it early. Like, that's the whole point. Like, do you have to pay a lot of money to get it done early? Yes, absolutely. Nobody's denying that. It's not RJ's money. It's not Sean's money, but whatever. That being said, if they wanted to move on in March from Trayvon Diggs, they can, as opposed to if they had waited and seen leaves fall, if they'd been reactive, whatever, they'd still gotten it done, they'd be stuck the way they were stuck with Gallup, the way they were stuck with Jalen, the way, they might be stuck with Dak if they want to move on or whatever the case may be. Like, there are very, very few actual cons in my mind to getting it done early.
Well, I supported them waiting on the first Dak deal because, like you said, waffling back and forth. You, David Hellman, Bobby Belt, the rest of the Dak Prescott fan club, you guys were totally sold. I wanted to see a little bit more, even if it cost you money. The second one, I don't understand why they did. Now, Dak had them by the balls, and Dak could tell them to stand on their third toe, and they would have had to do it. And they knew that. But the Lamb thing, it makes me think maybe the Lamb's agent drugged that out a little bit for the rest of the market. And what is your explanation for it?
I think you kind of outlined it, because people will be like, they're so bad at this. And I refuse to believe that anybody is actually this bad at this. Like, you can't be. And we think little of them. I recognize that, but they're still professionals and all this stuff.
And business geniuses.
I think that they have, just accept. If I have to put it under one umbrella, it's attention. Like, I don't like that. I don't. That doesn't feel like the most logical answer to me. But I think they've said, hey, this will be like, this cost is like $3 million. Like, that's a worthwhile investment to make sure that on Monday, June 16th, Get Up is talking about Dak Prescott's legacy or whatever. Like, we're investing it for that reason, even though we're the Cowboys, because that's what matters the most to us. And it might be the agents, like there might be other extracurriculars. I agree with you. But if I have to chalk it up to one thing, it's attention. I said that was my last thing, and this is actually my last thing. It's inspired by Bobby, who I also hate. And Bobby used to bring this up in a lot of ways, but I don't know if he's ever mentioned it to you all in any kind of an analogous form. But he used to talk about the 40-year-old virgin and the scene. Do you know where I'm going with this?
No.
Okay.
But I can tell you're a big pop culture movie guy.
This was Bobby's analogy, not mine. I'm completely stealing it, but I have seen the movie many times. So in the movies, you're familiar with the movie, I imagine.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So Steve Carell has a goal in mind. He's working on this goal, and his friend at the video store is telling him, you got to try this. And Steve Carell says, Sean, I can't do this. Like, it doesn't feel right. And his friend says, right's not working for you. He says, maybe it's time to try some wrong. And Bobby has brought that up with the Cowboys' methodology and approach to different things. What is the one thing that they need to try some wrong on? What they define to be wrong, not what you or I define to be wrong. But if you could pick one area, you're like, dude, this is the thing that I want you to try some wrong on.
The first thing that comes to mind would probably be some free agent splashes.
Right.
That would be number one. The whole meddling thing, I try to, because people outside of DFW don't really know the truth about Will McClay.
Right.
Will McClay handles the players or picks the players, and Steven handles the money. It's always Jerry Medler. But I think Jerry has done a decent job, a good job, really, with us at least, not undercutting Mike. I'll keep it to Mike. Not undercutting and creating the headlines. He knows what's going to get what's going to garner the attention and the headlines. So a lot of people would say keep your nose out of it and don't meddle. And I'm still not exactly sure how much that actually happens. That's another piece of advice that I would like to go ahead and drop in there. But really, like, instead of the bargain bin and instead of just drafting and maybe working out a trade for Stephon Gilmore and Brandon Cooks, like a big swing or two in free agency to go ahead and add to the team that you already have. That's what comes to mind.
Yeah, or even in a trade perspective, maybe a big swing for a trade that doesn't come with the caveat of, oh, well, if he leaves, we can get a comp pick. Just pay sticker price for something is kind of what we're saying. Because
that whole gambler thing, that is such a stale. When Jerry says that to us, I laugh. I'll steal this. I took as many gambles today as I did back then. Bullshit. Maybe in other aspects of your businesses and all that stuff, it doesn't feel like they're taking a lot of cowboy gamble. Now, Brian Schottenheimer is a gamble. All right. I agree with Jerry that opening preference when he said people are saying that this is safe. No, it's not safe. We have to remember Brian Schottenheimer has a reputation of being an old dinosaur, stale offensive mind, that he was boring in Seattle, even though Brian will tell you that was more Pete, right? And that he had some 26th and 27th ranked off. He was with Trevor Lawrence at the beginning in Jacksonville. Trevor Lawrence right now is looking like a bust. And the New York Jets and Mark Sanchez, he wasn't a good quarterback. So, this is a tremendous gamble, which is why we all initially freaked the hell out over it to begin with. What would be your advice?
The wrong to try would probably be normal, right? Like I mean, and you can call that whatever you want. And look, I am somebody who, and y'all are people who, and obviously you guys do a wonderful job covering the whole scene. But like, I have zero issue saying I put food on my table, due to content I create about this team. So like, thank you for that. I genuinely, and I find it fun and interesting, and it is cool. And I'm a millennial, so it hits me differently than it does other age brackets or whatever. But damn, like if you told me boring was successful, like I think I would trade lives at this point. Like I think I've had enough style and fun, you know what I mean?
Yeah, sometimes I will go through your tweets. I can't remember, you really did it during some process. It may have been off season, but there was some saga going on and you just kept updating and timelining it and bullet point by bullet of how freaking insane and nuts this was. And there's been so many of them. I can't remember the exact one, but you were just chronologically just breaking it down. The Cowboys are doing it this way, other organizations do it. So that's what I thought of when you said just be normal.
Yeah, like even the way they got rid of McCarthy or the way they got rid of Garrett. Like, and you talked about it. That is like, I'm Jerry fucking Jones, whatever. I'm gonna do it my way, whatever. The cool, man, respect. But like this is not a fun ride. Like, and beyond the fact that it's
illogical. Was a game. That was a silly game.
Beyond the fact that it's illogical, it was cruel. You know what I mean? Like it was cruel to Mike, and Mike had earned. Yeah, Garrett was. I know Garrett didn't win a Super Bowl, but he was worth, like, humans are worth more than that. And so it was. And the fact that, like, we forget, like, there was a moment where it seemed like Jason Witten was going to be the next. Like, that felt legitimately possible. Like, for
you were going crazy over that.
Dude, I mean, I was so mad because I love Witten, and I was so mad that they forced me to like, and I even added that qualifier to my tweets. I was like, look, I am about to shit on Witten so much, but this isn't about him. Like, I love him. This is about them and their stupid process. So I would advise them to just be normal. And I worry that to close that Shotty doesn't have the like, the cojones to force them to be. I will never forget in 2020, Mike was doing his Friday morning press conference, and Jerry was on with you all. And at the time, it was unknown what was going to happen at right tackle. If you remember, this is Terrence Steele's rookie season. They didn't know what was happening with Lyle. And Jerry goes on and says, Terrence Steele's going to be starting at right tackle. And like 2 minutes later, in real time from the podium, Mike says, we haven't made a decision who's going to be our right tackle. And I loved that. Like, it was awesome. Like, it was like, hell yeah, dude, be the head coach. And again, it didn't work. They didn't win the Super Bowl. We can all be adults about this, but like, I liked that. And that's the norm. Like, I want the head coach to be the guy who does everything.
Bobby reported that Mike put his foot down on Mingo. Like, Jerry and Steven or someone upstairs was pissed off. Mingo was not getting reps. He was not getting time. And they're like, we're out of it. We gave up this 4th round pick, put him on the field. And Mike's like, no. So that did allow, I think the hope I have, it's never going to be normal. Well, you know that, right. And I know that. I think the hope that I have is that Brian Schottenheimer, it's like, it's like if you have that difficult person in your family and you're the people person, the charmer, you have the personality, and you're like, let me talk to him. I got it. Let me handle it. I think that Brian Schottenheimer might be such a good, it's like Dion said what he would do with Jerry if he got the job, where Dion put his arm around him and talked to him in a different way. Maybe. I don't think Mike had that personality to do it. Mike would gruff probably and roll his eyes and be like, what a freaking circus this is. Jason, I don't think had that charm. He could be charming. Right. But I think Brian maybe can get it done through a different, better personality that he has. I think guessing and hopefully he gets along great with Will McClay, and Jerry does listen. We know that Jerry does listen, but I think McClay and Steven, Steven was boys with McCarthy, even though I know that Steven did want Schottenheimer when the time called for it, but I'm hoping that Brian's personality, maybe Jerry's age helps a little bit in terms of, who knows, it could make things wackier, but you'll be having more hits to the site.
I agree with that. My last thing to just statement is, again, we all contradict ourselves, all human beings. I do it every day. You do it every day. It is funny that it's a matter of like, oh, play Mingo because we're mathematically out of it, but don't play Trey Lance. You know what I mean? Like, don't you dare play Trey Lance. Like, that would be really stupid. We only, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, and so in that way, like what I killed them for last year was they did not have a North Star. I said that phrase over and over and over again. If you're moving towards, people be like, oh, Sean, I think they're tanking. They want, why do they have to tank? They call the shots. They can fire Mike right now if they want to. Like, it was so stupid. So like, if you want to tank. I disagree. I think it's dumb. If you don't want to pay Dak and let him walk in free agency, fine, but commit to that. But by not doing anything at free agency and then waiting until the last day to sign Dak, you're doing things and moving towards goals and whatever that are diametrically opposing from one another. And so you're making it so much more difficult to accomplish anything, whether that's good or bad.
This took me 13, 14 years to really, it's kind of like your thing of, I don't believe that they're this bad at it on purpose. And Mike Bassick, every damn day, every week, if you know Mike Bassick, they don't care. They don't care that much. They don't care about winning Super Bowls. And I'm like, no, like, I don't believe that a competitor like that, Jerry Jones, unless he's totally delusional, knows he has to get a title without Jimmy, like Kobe had to get one without Shaq. No one thinks those titles are Jerry's besides his little inner circle. And he has to get, so I refuse to believe it. But sometimes the way they operate, I'm like, damn, man, like Florio's on this kick now every week. Maybe it doesn't burn at him as much as I thought over the 15 years covering them. And that is a terrible thing to think about believing.
I agree with that. So good, somber, depressing note to end on there. Last one. What are you smoking? What are you working on? I know you sent me a link, but I'm always curious to hear what you got going on.
I'm very proud of you. You cooking picanha. Hopefully you sliced it the right way. You're becoming a grill master. I cooked a flat iron roast at Leroy and Lewis. Leroy and Lewis is a place in Austin. They won a Michelin star, and they're not serving brisket throughout the week. It's like a flat iron roast. I got a choice one, which I didn't. It wasn't prime grade, so I need to get the prime grade. But I had a flat yesterday for Father's Day. I grilled some chimichurri skirt steak from Wild Fork, dude. It might have been the best fajita steak I've ever bought. My family went nuts over it. But what is your next grill project?
Project is I've never done beer can chicken. It's just always been easier to like, I don't want to take the time. It's already enough time to like prep whatever. Like just for Father's Day weekend, I did chicken and sausage and shrimp, just like kind of your staples. But like,
Yeah.
I've never gotten that, whatever. I've done brisket, like I've done the big things. Like I've swung and hit some home runs, but I kind of want to like hit for the cycle one day. You know what I mean? Like it's a different thing than like having 3 home runs in a game. So like I kind of want to approach it differently. So beer can chicken, and after that I want to get more into like some seafood, the seafood game, like maybe like a swordfish one day. I haven't done anything like that before.
Oh, like a whole fit. And what are you cooking? What are you cooking on?
I've got a Pit Boss, so I've got a pellet grill. You can call it an easy bake oven. I really don't care.
I got a pellet grill too. If you got kids and you're busy, you need it. Mine doesn't get smoked. That's what sucks. I don't get enough. I think there's other better ones out there. Do you get enough smoke on yours, or you don't love smoke?
I do, and that's the whole point for me, is to get enough smoke. And mine has a searing function. So like, 4th of July, you want your burgers, to have that nice little touch, that nice little kiss. Great, let's do that. That's the one thing. Like I did some burgers on Saturday. It's just like a pellet grill is not the best for burgers. It's just it's
stay inside with a cast iron.
Yeah. So you got to kind of pick and choose your battles. But to your point, on Father's Day, I threw all this stuff in the Pit Boss and then went to the swimming pool. You know what I mean? Like whatever. Like you can't beat that lifestyle, in my opinion. So
I don't want to run back and forth. I don't want to wake up overnight. My wife hates me going back to bed, smell like freaking hickory wood. And then I'm not getting out of the pool 10 times to keep maneuvering the fire and changing it, especially for some chicken and shrimp and burgers. So, hey, pick your battle. Do what you want. You want to be a tough guy? I got both. You want to be a tough guy and only do it with wood and walk outside 15 times in sweat and 105? Have at it.
Yeah, I mean, we all have our battles, but you're the person who's like, oh no, like you are the mouth breathing Cowboys fan. Like they're going to win it this year, but the quarterback sucks and all this different stuff. Like whatever. We all need that person for more listens or more views. Shan, you're the man. Get your nap in. Really appreciate it. I will. Out of respect, be the second best RJ in your life. I'm not jumping Choppy. You know what I mean? I can't. I will say, kind of not cool that he'll just go by Choppy. Like as an RJ, that's it feels like a disowning sort of thing.
They don't call you just Ochoa?
I've actually talked about this with Bobby. It's not a last name you can really do that with. Like some people have some last names you can like imagine if I was like playing a game and you were like cheering me on, like the ch like slows you. It's awkward. And
what is your first name?
It's Roel, Roel, and I'm a junior. So that's where the junior comes from, or the RJ comes from. So, Ochoa, like I've got a friend whose last name is Dixon. That's a great last name, for that kind of thing. Shariff works. Choppy's great. Belt, awesome. But like Ochoa, it's just like running through quicksand. It stops, and I can accept that.
Keep killing it. Don't book too many guests in San Francisco, but we'll talk before then.
Of course. Appreciate it, dude.